everyone being here. Huge shout out to all of our panelists today also for being a part of this event. Really appreciate your thoughts and your feedback and your expertise. So we are going to wait a few more minutes while folks continue to trickle in. I see, we're definitely on here. I love so much when we can keep our video on and actually have a conversation. So I'm really encouraged to see so many folks with their video on as well. Of course, do whatever is most comfortable for you. While we are waiting, I will say very quickly a couple other chapter events and things to watch out for. We are planning our March luncheon, which will be the third Thursday. Christine, please pop in if I mess anything up. We're still finalizing all of those details, but it's going to be around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're really excited about the speaker that we're working with to share with everyone. And then, of course, we will have our March happy hour as well. Happy hours are a bit more informal, just an opportunity for us to get together, chat about whatever is happening in our lives, really about that fellowship, the end of the day. So that is the first Wednesday in March. I don't have my calendar handy, but I trust that you all can figure that out. I also just want to give a quick shout out because I was looking over the list and I noticed, like I said, we have some new folks, some non-members here. Guys, I'm so excited that you find value in this presentation and that you're joining us, taking the time out of your day. AFP is a really fantastic organization, a great group of fundraisers. So if you aren't a member, I would highly encourage you to take a peek at our website. We do luncheons throughout the year. We have our happy hours. We also do a big National Philanthropy Day celebration along with Fundraising Day. So it's really about education, fellowship, bringing people together, sharing all of the knowledge. We know that collectively we are stronger. So guys, again, while we're waiting, does anyone have any questions about AFP or any of our educational offerings, events? Any thoughts, ideas? Any topic ideas? Anything that you guys would like to see moving forward?
Oh, I see Joe just shared that he asked his students from his event planning course to join the session as an assignment. So we might see some SUNY Oswego students, which is really exciting. I love next generation learners, right? Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that, Joe. And Ashley, thanks for the intro. I'll just follow up and say, as you all have questions, as we're listening to our panelists, if you're like me and you're afraid they might fall out of your brain, please just go ahead and enter them in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat and kind of sharing those questions with our panelists today.
That's yours, yeah. For your
oh, no, not yet.
I'm just going to leave that.
I'm also just from a housekeeping standpoint, I'm going to ask everyone to go ahead and mute themselves. We're going to have the panelists unmute as they're sharing. And I will change the view so you all can see our speakers as they are sharing their journeys in going through, pivoting through COVID. And we still have some folks joining. Ashley and I are both admitting people right and left, which is great.
Fantastic.
So we will go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start by introducing Miss Jodi Revill. She is a member of the St. Anne's Foundation team, and St. Anne's is based out of Rochester, New York. Jodi is a campaign manager, and she gives overall management for St. Anne's current campaigns entitled For All They've Given. And this campaign will raise more than $12 million in support of the renovation of St. Anne's House. Jodi, we're really excited to have you here. And I'm going to ask you to be our first panelist to share with the group about the event that you're going to be discussing at today's session.
Okay, so you want me to do that now before introducing everybody else?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and just share a little bit about your event, and then we'll move to the next panelist.
Okay. All right, so as Christine said, I work at St. Anne's Foundation, support St. Anne's community in Rochester, New York. We are a senior care community of about 1,100 residents between independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing home. And then we have about 1,200 employees total within St. Anne's community. The foundation, we have 6 people total is what we do to run the organization. We're currently in a campaign. As part of that campaign, we also have a signature event every single year. 2020 was our 4th year. Our event is titled Food Fight, and it is basically Rochester's version and St. Anne's version of the TV show Chopped. So if you've watched Chopped, you have the competition between 4 chefs. We also have 4 judges, and we only give them, it's not a whole day, it's only an hour. We give them an entree with mystery ingredients. They have 30 minutes and boom, they go from there. So ours, we don't talk at them a lot. It's more of a show that we put on. The last, 2020 was the 4th year. 2019, our event had grown to 400 people and we pushed it to the Rochester Convention Center, made over $250,000. So in 2020, we were going to step it up to the next goal, basically, of raising more money, have more people, have a more robust event. It was scheduled for October 16th. So when COVID hit on March 13th, and if you pay attention to New York State and what's going on with the nursing homes, that immediately meant our visitation shut down. Unlike many development offices, we have been in the office since March 13th. I'm sitting in our conference room, so I have nothing behind me right now. We had to move very quickly, not in terms of the event, but we became buddies for our elders simply because we've not had visitation since March 13th last year. People have not seen their loved ones. So us employees have all taken on elders that we visit every single day. So I'm throwing that out there because when I think about my employee who really runs this event, she's been doing 1,000 different things and then visiting elders every single day on top of it. March 31st, we sat down, we had already sent out all of our sponsorship materials. We were already getting ticket purchases, sponsors in. Everybody was gung ho because at that point in time, everybody thought COVID would be gone by June. And it was like, yay, we don't have to worry about this in the fall. So by April 15th, we had a lot of sponsors on board. We were like, hey, we're good to go. We're still moving forward with the convention center. Come June, we had a conversation with the convention center. They were still shut down, didn't know what they were going to be doing. We started planning 4 events total, basically. We planned a full in-person event. My colleague Tara also had a full virtual event plan going. She had a hybrid event, half virtual, half in person at the convention center. And then we were in the process of putting together oh Lord, what if we can't even film this thing because it's a show? And the one thing we were not going to do is we were not going to use Zoom. We heard that over and over again after people had used Zoom for all of their events. And our MC and our participants said, please don't use Zoom, we are Zoomed out. So we were ready to flip this to an at-home competition and have people send us photos of what they were doing, that we would give them the mystery ingredients and say, boom, go, do this at home. So we had this going in June. July 1st, we really flipped the switch. We told our sponsors and our ticket holders on August 1st. We are going fully virtual. We were pushing out of one of the country clubs because the convention center said, we just can't host this. We're not allowed by New York State to put anything. We can't even put your 4 chefs and 4 judges and film it from the convention center at this time. So Genesee Valley Club, thank God, stepped up. Their chef happened to be our reigning champion, so it was pretty easy. We took over their country club and produced a TV show, is what it came down to for October 16th. We talked to all of our sponsors. We talked to all of our ticket holders. Magically, we did not lose a single sponsor or a ticket holder. And our tickets run, just so you know, $200 a piece. And then sponsorships run from $1,500 to $25,000. We were very fortunate. We had calculated, we thought we would lose a certain number of ticket purchasers because why not? We quickly pivoted and put together an entire at-home package for people who had purchased tickets. Our sponsors, we did the same thing. Probably one of the biggest mistakes that we made, we delivered everything to them. We did not have them come pick up on site, which practically killed our staff. But we did do that. And we had a successful night. We pushed out to our private YouTube channel. We had a great AV team that was doing it. We planned for the worst case scenario. We were so fearful of there's going to be a thunder and lightning storm and power is going to go out. What are we going to do? Our IT team from St. Anne's community went above and beyond for us. Many of our purchasers and attendees are older and might have difficulty pushing from their computer or their phone to their TVs to watch it. So our wonderful IT team put together a one-page how to get to see this on your TV, basically. We had a hotline available for certain donors where they could call if they were having IT difficulty, etc. We would help them out if we could. Thank God only one person called because our poor IT team was like, unless we know what kind of TV they have, we're probably not going to be able to help them. We had a great night. We produced a TV show. It was a little weird not having the audience piece of it, quite frankly, for us, because we are used to a lot of noise at the event, a lot of cheering at the event. And it was 4 chefs in a room with a few cameras and an MC and making it happen. We were still able to do pretty much a live cash call, even though they had to, majority of people put it through on their phone. We allowed a phone. We took phone calls though for the cash call as well. We had to flip to a silent auction instead of a live auction. So that was something that was different for us. But overall, I mean, we still raised over $213,000 that night gross. We ended up netting more than we did the previous year. And it was simply because the expenses being at the convention center, the expenses are through the roof. And we were able to get a lot of deals cut for us because I know the country club they wanted the space used, quite frankly. So that helped us out a great deal. Moving forward for 2021, our date is set for September 24th. We have made the decision, we're staying virtual, except we're going to do a hybrid version. We are going to have a behind the scenes at the country club because they have socially distant 6 people per table. They can have so many tables in a room. So we will have them at different locations within the country club. We are also going to have a satellite party per se at one of the other country clubs where they're going to be able to gather with their friends and watch it instead of watching it at home. We've heard a lot from our attendees. We sent out a lot of surveys right after the event and then just again in February 1st, and we're pretty much split. There's a good amount of people who say they want to be in person in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just a hybrid and they're watching it on TV with other people and they can dress up. They're tired of watching stuff at home, is what we're hearing. And then we have our other end of people that say, I just want to be virtual at home. So we're going to appease to both of them at this time. Honestly, we are in the process of waiting for a quote from one of the local TV stations because we have one of the local meteorologists is connected to St. Anne's through a family member and is one of our judges. And we're waiting on a quote to see if it's worth it to flip to TV. Right now, we probably won't because we are set to drop our sponsorship materials and make our phone calls. And we normally have a good amount of our sponsorships in by April 1st for the event. So that's where we are.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Jodi. And we'll come back to you for some questions in just a little bit. Ashley, do you want to do the next intro?
I sure do. Thank you, Christine. I am very excited to introduce Jenn Neuner next. Jenn is the Director of Events and Communications at Manlius Pebble Hill School. As a member of the MPH community since 2003, Jenn serves on the admin leadership team and the pandemic response team. She oversees all special events for the school, including an annual fundraising gala, alumni reunions, and Hall of Fame ceremonies, and also commencement activities. So she is a Jill of all hats over there. In addition, Jenn serves as the lead editor for the school's magazine and leads all internal and external communications, marketing efforts, and is responsible for website and social media creation. Oh my gosh. With that, Jenn, take it away.
Thank you for the intro, and nice to see all of you here. So a little bit of a similar story. Before everyone joined us, I was explaining, we're a little bit different than some of the groups here today in that, our fundraising events are very focused on our internal constituents. We're not as much of a broad community based as some of the other organizations, but I think we face really similar challenges when it comes to events. Every year we have a fundraiser in the spring, typically an off-site gala, black tie optional with a nice, your typical sit down dinner, silent auction items, entertainment, that sort of thing. That was planned for April 17th of last year. We had already secured all of our sponsors, received probably 90% of our auction items, already had started taking tickets and started processing those payments through. And obviously everything was set up with the venue. So March 13th came along, we made the decision to cancel school for 2 weeks like everybody else did. And genuinely thought that after those 2 weeks, we would just come back, everything would be fine. We continued to plan as normal. All of our deposits were paid. This particular event was a little bit different. We had a carnival theme. And what that meant to us was we had a lot of little street vendors and entertainment going on. We had, this woman that was going to hang from this thing in the sky and pour champagne on her aerial bartending and all these fun things that we had deposited. So 2 weeks afterwards, we're approaching April 1st. We realized we weren't going back, and we in 17 days had to decide, do we postpone, do we cancel? And we thought, let's just see if we can make it work. And a few things happened to make it work. One, we were already set up with a platform called Greater Giving. It's used pretty widely for mobile bidding, and we have been using them for about 3 or 4 years. So there wasn't a big switch to be made there. So that was the relief part of it was, I was already going to have to take photos and descriptions and really sell auction items online, minus the benefit of people being able to sort of look and touch and feel up close. But we thought that part we could handle. What we really decided we needed to do was rethink how we were going to engage the community. Most of us didn't even know what Zoom was or had just been introduced to it. In fact, I had just been introduced to it a few months prior to this, but no one understood how it worked in terms of large capacity rooms and how are you sharing screens and how come my audio doesn't work when I share this video and even guests joining. They didn't know, where do I find the mute button? And we were really nervous about what that looked like. But we went ahead and refunded everybody's ticket costs and just started from scratch. We decided to just completely rebrand the event. We stopped calling it Carnival. We started just calling it the MPH Gala. And we asked people, and I'm not necessarily saying this was the best idea, we're reformatting it for this year, but our first instinct was, can we charge people $200 a ticket to not come and have their dinner? And could we do that? And to me at the time, I felt like, no, we couldn't. We really needed to restructure. So we came up with, normally we would have 2 separate ticket prices. I think they were $125 and $200. We started from scratch. We gave a basic ticket price, $20. If you want to join us on Zoom for the evening, it's $20. However, we created a VIP level at $100, and we created gift bags for everyone who wanted to become a VIP. And you kind of know when you're doing this on Zoom that maybe, I would sign up and I'd pay my $100, but I don't sign my husband up, but obviously he's here next to me. So we knew we weren't going to use ticket price as our main source of revenue, but we wanted to entice people to what's in the VIP basket. And we scrambled and found some people that were willing to donate to the VIP basket. We had already received some donations from some local places that we thought we could utilize for that. So individually at separate times, we had our parents stop, collect the items they needed, and then they went door to door. And I don't know how much anyone knows about MPH, but we have students in 19 different school districts. We are not just in Syracuse. So we had parents that were driving to Auburn, to Skaneateles, to Utica, to Clinton, to Oswego, dropping off these VIP bags the day before the event. Probably not the most well-oiled machine, but ultimately they came out really great, and it ended up being a fun way. We put in like little party favors and snacks and chocolate, little bottles of wine, and it was sort of like, here's your party in a bag for the event. We worked on an itinerary for the night, which to me, in terms of challenges, ended up being a really hard thing to do. Our event was scheduled, we said 6 to 9, and each 30 minutes we tried to announce something. So you know, we would say, okay, the first 30 minutes, our head of school and our chair people would speak. And then at the 30-minute mark, someone else would come and introduce the paddle raise. I think that Jodi calls hers the cash call, but introduce how we were going to do that without having actual paddles, which we ended up just doing as listed them as auction levels on the mobile bidding platform. So you could put in your dollar amount for those raises, and throughout the night, we just had someone promote them. What I didn't anticipate was, for some reason, being new to it, I anticipated, you know, 150, 200 people all chatting, and everyone's mutes off, and as if we were at a party together. What I found was that most people didn't even have their cameras on, and the other people had their mute on. And so in between what I thought was really well orchestrated 30-minute segments, no one was saying anything. And I didn't know how to get those people to interact. So I pivoted really quickly to, luckily I'm at my home now, and I was right here a year ago, and I had all of my auction items here. I brought them all home with me. So I started just showing them and talking about them. And that really helped. And we ended up asking one of our alums, who is a well-known jazz musician, to do a performance, and he was able to do that. That sparked some conversation. We did have some auction items that were supposed to be live, and the people who would have introduced those as live auctioneers joined us, and they still went ahead, and while you could still bid on them as a silent auction item, we still had guest speakers to come and really talk about those items. I went ahead of time and created some video slideshow photos of students, you know, tug at the heartstrings and show the parents what the money was really going for, put some music behind it. And when I ran out of breath or felt like I had nothing else to say, I would just hit play, let the music go, let the photos go, and then you could hear the oohs and the ahs and laughing of the parents. So yeah, so we were, in terms of sponsors, one of the other things is, without an actual event, I had no venue. I couldn't give them what I promised them, which was really nice signage with their logo at the event, and things at the bar that indicated who was sponsoring what, and recognition in all those different ways. So using the mobile bidding platform, there are ways to recognize donors and sponsors through that. I also worked into the script of some of the people that I had planned on talking. So our head of school or chairperson or other leadership people to thank and call those people out. As you can imagine, when you're fundraising for a school, a lot of our sponsors have affiliations somehow with the school. They might have been a vendor or a parent or a trustee or something like that. So if they were there, we'd be able to call them and allow them to kind of accept the thank you. And that ended up being a way, and what we're learning as we go into this year is the virtual platform allows a little bit more publicity for those sponsors in a way that we've never been able to do before. So this year I've offered our top level sponsor, which for us is $10,000, a short video clip that they can submit, a 30-second video that will run during the event. That's promo that you wouldn't normally do. Normally you just throw a logo and a name up and say, thanks to the sponsor. So that's kind of one takeaway that we did there. The other takeaway was we are going back to a general ticket price this year. Still a little bit less, but I think we're doing 75 and 150 to allow for those different levels. I'm trying to take as much as I can as I see other virtual events happening and realizing that we do need to recoup that ticket cost back on there. Because we were able to really maintain our paddle arrays and have that promoted through the night, because our auction items were there and because our sponsors were already committed, we actually did very well. We met our revenue goal. It's obviously we all have different revenue goals, so it's probably not too relevant to the dollar amount. I think it was maybe $140,000 that we generated. And so we weren't able to do that. What I'm finding this year is that being a small school, I'm having a harder time actually securing sponsorships, securing donations, because if philanthropic dollars are limited, you're likely not going to support a private school. I have someone that normally supports us very generously, but she works in the health field, and she just said optics. She's like, I would love to, but I can't publicly put out there that with everything going on in healthcare, that our dollars are funding a small private school. And so we're struggling with that a little bit this year. We're working on our sponsorships, our events the same weekend, April 16th. We're down about 20% right now in our actual sponsorships, and we're still working a little bit on the donations. So we're hoping with the decreased expenditures that don't come, that you don't have to do when you're not at a venue, and some increased ticket prices and some really creative donation ideas, that we can still meet the same revenue goals, even though our sponsorships are down a little bit from last year.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Jen. Really appreciate it. And I love how we're talking about different types of events here. It's given us a nice round view. Laurie Simpson is the next person I'm going to go ahead and introduce. She is the Director of Development at Hospice of Central New York and Hospice of the Finger Lakes. Throughout her 15-year development career, planning and implementing fundraising and cultivation events has always been a strong component in each one of her roles. Laurie, I'm not gonna read your whole bio here, but I do want to share, with the onset of the pandemic, Laurie and her team have been fully embracing the philosophy of, with change comes opportunity. So with that, Laurie, why don't you share with us a little bit about the event that you are going to talk about with our members today?
I was muted. Am I on now? Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much. So Hospice of Central New York and Hospice of the Finger Lakes has been serving the community for over 35 years. We serve Oswego, Onondaga, Madison, and Cayuga counties. We serve about 1,400 people each year. We merged with Cayuga County in 2018, and I'm telling you that right now because it has something to do with some of our decisions with this event that we put on too. So we have been here for a good amount of time, and we also have some very established fundraising events that we've been hosting for a very long time too. Obviously, the impact on those with the pandemic has been tremendous, but we pivot, and with change comes opportunity. So when we normally host a event called September Song, it's transformed a bit over the years, but it's been going on for many years. It's our largest fundraising event, and it's called September Song, so it's in September. And after when the pandemic hit and everything kind of closed in March, we had several events that we had to cancel that we had secured sponsorships with. We pivoted with those in different ways. But this one we felt like, okay, we know we can't host what we were planning to host in September normally. So we really need to just let that go and rethink this completely. And we did. So going from a gala event to this, what we called cruising to the drive-in movie night. So I think it was in June, I had seen on Facebook, someone was doing like a concert at a drive-in, and I thought, oh, cool, you know, we could use a space, we can have people feel safe, but still get out of their house, help raise money for an organization, do something outside of the house. And I was thinking music, maybe we could get a band and have that. We ended up making the decision to go with actual taking advantage of the drive-in and a movie itself. And so we fully embraced the nostalgic, the era of the movie Grease. And so with the cruise and our advertising, so once we made the decision, we turned it around. We secured a drive-in in Cayuga County, the Finger Lakes drive-in there. And what we did was we took the sponsorship levels that we had set up with September Song for all those years, because generally we have similar or the same donors, sponsors, businesses especially, that have really committed to that particular event. So what we did was we recreated sponsorship levels, dollar amount similar to what they were for the September Song event, and made them into something different with a drive-in. And you know, obviously, like Jen had said too, some people, you know, you say you want to be this type of sponsor and you get your name up on the board somewhere or something like that. And when you change sponsor levels and create new sponsorship levels, you're considering what's really going to appeal to these people because they've committed here. Gratefully, people took advantage of it. We actually had more opportunity to advertise, for them to advertise too, so it was benefiting them too. So for example, we had big screen ad sponsors because they could get their logo up on the big screen. We had marquee sponsors, so they could have those kind of things. We had, you know, we did a book, an event, you know, program too, so they had different ad opportunities there too. So ultimately, we were able to really secure a good amount of sponsorships, which is fantastic, which went along with as many, like, you know, so many cars could get into the event if you're a certain sponsor. Each car, so these are another little things that we were thinking. Again, this is a brand new, so we're trying to engage a community that we haven't been really active in out in Cayuga County, but it's not too far away from all of our people that are really supportive of us in the CNY, like the closer Syracuse area. So each car, it was $100 per vehicle. So the $100 per vehicle included for up to 4 people. Now they could have 10 people in their car if they wanted to, but up to 4 people each got a fleece blanket, because it was the end of September. So we're doing the cozy thing. We actually secured a blanket sponsor to cover the cost of that, but it was just incentive for the guests to come. So they got their fleece blanket, and they also got a coupon for concessions, which covered like a burger and fries and some popcorn. So it was kind of like all inclusive. They pay this $100 up to 4 people. You're all set for the night, and you can watch the movie and have fun. We sold, we sold about 180 tickets, admissions tickets, with the $100. We collected all those concessions tickets that night, and it was crazy, and I would change things for sure, and I'd be happy to answer questions about that because we really accommodated too much. It was a little too much to manage, but we pulled it off, and it was great. But we had about 350 people hand in the concession coupons too. Now, normally so right there, that means that's how many people were there we wouldn't have engaged with before. And it was certainly more people than have come to September Song over this period of time, because it's not really set up for a huge venue. So we've just engaged double what we normally have, people, we took advantage of putting on the screen information about hospice, you know, that opportunity to be able to have them learn more about us, also our placement in Kansas County. So really, overall, it was great. We actually did raffles. I would change the process in that too, but we did have raffles because we had secured in-kind donations. So we did baskets, but we didn't want people to congregate, obviously. So we advertised those baskets through a lot of different media components too, and we had a one-sheet raffle sheet. And each basket, so people could choose to put so many tickets towards a basket. There was a sheet that they could identify how many they wanted to towards that. And we would do that ourselves for them. People trusted that their tickets were going in the right thing. We did raise a good amount of money for that. And as far as logistically go, logistically that night, we also offered to sell them. We had volunteers out there selling more raffle tickets. The implementation of sorting all of the winning tickets, the winners with we didn't, at that point, we didn't have like Give Smart, we didn't have anything like that. And it was chaotic, and we were all sweating, and we were all ready to have it over at that point. But most of the guests were very excited, and they were psyched that they won something. So we really, and that's what it was all about, leaving that place. We had the best, we had such positive response with the community. They couldn't wait to, are you going to do it again in the spring? Are you going to do it again in the fall? And they felt good because there were people that haven't been out of their house, you know, fearing different things. They haven't done anything. And there are people saying, I could be in my car and do this and be around people. So anyway, that was our one event that we had, Cruising to the Movie Night.
Well, thanks so much for that, Laurie. Really appreciate it. Ashley, I'm going to toss it to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christine. I'm very excited to introduce our next panelist, Chris Arnold. So Chris serves as the president of Paige's Butterfly Run, Inc. and as the race director for the Run Walk itself. Since its inception in 1997, Paige's Butterfly Run has raised more than $3.5 million to fund pediatric cancer research and patient programs at Upstate Golisano Children's Hospital and scholarships through the Baldwinsville Community Scholarship Foundation. With that, Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I guess just by way of quick introduction, Paige's Butterfly Run is primarily an events-driven organization and primarily a volunteer-driven organization. We have one employee. That's Maya Hill, our executive director. She is a board member of AFP and unfortunately could not be here today. So I am here in her stead, but she is our professional. I have, of course, been with the organization since its beginning. Paige was my daughter. The first event was in 1997, completely a grassroots event due to the generosity of some teachers at Palmer Elementary, where Paige was a student. And we continued holding the event there until 2008, when we came to downtown Syracuse to join the Taste of Syracuse and put on our events side by side, I guess you could say, which has been a great thing for us in terms of participation and so forth. And participation, of course, means raising more funds for our mission, which is to fund research and patient programs in the pediatric oncology area at Upstate Golisano Children's Hospital. So as a events-driven organization, 2020, of course, was crap. We were hopeful, I think like everyone else, that, oh, in May, maybe, you know, our event is always the first weekend or so in June. You know, we're thinking in March. Poor Maya came on board, by the way, at the end of January. We were thinking perhaps by June we'll be okay, right? Things will warm up, whatever. Wishful thinking. Having 15 to 1900 runners in a runner's corral next to the Taste of Syracuse, where thousands of people are congregating. You know, they both would have been super spreader events. So by April, we decided we couldn't do this in person. The run is our primary signature event, where the vast majority of the funds we raise come from, but we do have 3 events throughout the year. We have Pedaling for Paige, which is a spinning event held at Elevate in DeWitt. We have the run itself in June, and we have Clams for Cures in September, traditionally, which is a clam bake. And what we decided to do was, once we realized we couldn't do things in person, is we shelved the clam bake, and we decided to put Paige's Butterfly Run and Pedaling for Paige together during a week in August as virtual events. So then our challenge was, okay, how do we do that? Just like everybody else here, how do we do that? We've never done this thing virtually before. It's all about being together. There's a lot of energy at events where people are running or being athletic or coming together for a mission. We often have patient families at our events. We have lots of little kids. You see behind us, that's the Caterpillar Crawl for kids 5 and under at Paige's Butterfly Run. So it's very family-oriented events. Anyway, we decided we had to do the virtual. We said, okay, we're going to do that. How are we going to communicate this? How are we going to try and retain as many people as possible? Runs and spinning events, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of energy having other people there. We did not anticipate or expect to have everybody come. We weren't as lucky as Jodi. we definitely had people who didn't show up because it was so different. But we did have good participation in both events, enough so that by the end of the year, we were able to fund all the allocation requests at Golisano and be able to put some money into our endowment fund and retain some funds to keep us through 2021 in good stead. So what we did in terms of different things, we went out and had one of our volunteers is a professor of TV at Newhouse. We filmed a number of what we call their stories. So typically interviewing a parent or parents and or with the child, talking about their experience with pediatric cancer and how Paige's Butterfly Run may have helped them. And we sent these out via email, through Constant Contact, social media, Instagram, Facebook. And we tried to do a new one every week. And, you know, our tagline was, cancer does not take a holiday. It doesn't care about COVID. The mission goes on. So the idea was to, you know, even though COVID was everything in the news, to remind people that our mission is still there and it's not going away. So reaching out in all manner that we could without trying to spend, without spending money if possible, to people. We had to change we decided to change our sign up platform. We were using Blackbaud through the Upstate Foundation. We moved to Run Sign Up, which if anybody has not used that before, I would endorse it. It's a good, clean interface. And one of the reasons we moved it to Run Sign Up was they had experience in doing virtual events. So that was a definite change for us. And all these things I'm talking about were guided by Maya. So, you know, kudos to Maya. And we were just endeavoring to communicate to our participants and to our sponsors that nothing has changed in terms of why it's important that you participate. Please hang in there with us. So that was our year. And coming into 2021, again, primary event is going to be the run. I do not see it happening in early June in person. We've got no guidance from the city or the county, but I cannot see us being downtown with, again, a runner's corral of thousands of people together in early June. We are going to do here in March, we're going to do a socially distanced and COVID-19 contained pedaling for Paige, very few bikes compared to our normal setup. We're trying that in March. The run, we have yet to announce. I did do a video that we put out by email and on social media telling people, this was last week, that we don't know exactly what we're going to do. And I would encourage you guys, if you're in a similar position, there's nothing wrong with admitting that. And most people understand that things are fluid and they're there to support your mission. That's why they participate, with the exception of some runners who just want to come and run, but we'll take their money anyway. So, right. So that's my story, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Chris, and for that really fantastic advice there. And that's actually going to, I think, move me into the first question. I know Chris has already given one piece of advice, but I would ask the rest of the panelists, if you had to choose one piece of advice that you could give to other fundraisers who are assessing their events right now for this year, what would that be?
I guess for me, it would be to step outside your annual event. I think it's really easy. And I know for me, I've been with my organization 18 years. It's really easy to just say, well, we have to do that. We've been doing, like, we always do that. That's tradition. So I think to just feel, and obviously I think so many of the panelists are obviously already doing that. Even going into this year, as we look at knowing that we're doing a virtual event, it's so different from last year in terms of like thinking about Zoom fatigue. So we thought, you know, if we're doing something virtual, what could it be? So, you know, we've planned for this year to be really interactive and do some things that we've never done and make it more casual and game oriented and interacting with people more. And, you know, so I'd say just look outside of what you think your traditional event should be and think about what it needs to be given the circumstances we're all living under right now.
Thanks for that, Jen. Laurie, did you have a piece of advice there?
Sure, yes, thank you. I would say it's kind of going along with what Chris is saying too, is to add to keeping people reminded of why they've supported the organization to begin with is important. And our closest people are the ones that we want to focus our attention on right now, especially not losing their engagement. And it's easy to lose engagement in the situation that we're in. So what we relied on before is now something different. And when we're looking at keeping people engaged, that's where I've found from when we start having these discussions on brainstorming on how to, it's that part and all different factors, and it's not just the events itself. And who are they? Who is it that you really want to keep close, and you're going to expand from there. But I think it's really important to put some time and effort into staying engaged, whatever that means. I think with this change, again, that's really an important thing to keep in mind when you're making the decisions on what you're going to do.
Great, thanks, Laurie. Jodi, did you have a piece of advice that you would want to share with the folks who are on?
I do, and it's really geared towards if you are not an events-driven organization. So, Chris, I know you know that your program is really in a different scenario, but if you are not fully events-driven and you've got annual and major giving, etc., really look at the event. Do you need it? Is it a needed event when it comes down to it? Because are you netting enough money? Because if you are not netting money on the event, it may not be worth it. Or I've heard people say over the last year, I've wanted to get rid of this event for years and I didn't know how. COVID supplies you with that reason to get rid of it. And I'll give you, I mean, we have a second event that we do. It's a purely stewardship event in the spring. About a 200-person thank you lunch for our previous year's donors. We make no money off of it. It is a straight up stewardship, spend $10,000 on it. We had to cancel it. We didn't have a choice. Instead, what we did was made sure we picked up the phone in April and called every single one of those donors who were invited, said thank you. We flipped, we did a thank you, a specialized thank you card for them, which saves us a ton of monies. I mean, just like every other organization, our budget keeps getting cut. And we've got to cut some things out this year. So we have already gone forward of, it's not going to happen this year. We don't know if we'll bring it back or not because of the success that we've been having we'll be dropping our other thank you card in a matter of next week. And we call our donors on a regular basis, but we specifically spent the time with those donors who were normally invited.
Thanks so much for that, Jodi. Yeah, that's great advice. And Chris, I know that you had just given advice, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have no problem asking you to share more of that brain of yours.
Transparency with everybody, I think, is the best, which really is what I said earlier. And don't be afraid to reach out to new partners that may be able to help you in these different times. We were able to be as successful as we were because we did do that. And pivot is an overused word, but I use it a lot, with respect to Paige's Butterfly Run. But we are doing things differently, and it's not what we have expertise in, for the last 20 years or whatever. So there are people out there, some of them are right here among us, that can help us do new things. So, I would say rely on your community where it makes sense. Help others where you can.
Thanks so much for that, Chris. And we actually did have someone want you to share a little bit more about why it's called Paige's Butterfly Run. So if you want to talk a little bit about
Sure,
that.
yeah, and that's a question we often get. Obviously, Paige was my daughter's name, so that's not a hard one. Butterfly Run. There were two things that brought us to Butterfly. One was she had, in her second grade year, which is the last year of school she was able to attend, she had a section on butterflies, and she had she was transfixed on it. She just loved it. So that was in our head. And also, the other part is butterflies, and I'm thinking specifically of monarch butterflies, are these beautiful, gentle, fragile-looking things. But you may or may not be aware that monarch butterflies specifically will migrate from northern US down to Mexico, like 1,200 miles, if you can imagine a butterfly flying 1,200 miles. They're a lot stronger than they look. They're a lot more resilient than they look. And frankly, that was Paige. She was a beautiful little girl and was a very strong person through her whole illness. And I, as an adult, learned a lot from Paige during those times because of that strength.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Chris, and for sharing Paige with all of us through your events. Brenda Zook. Hi, Brenda. I'm glad you're here with us today. She actually wanted to toss out a question. When COVID is a thing of the past, do you feel that you should include both the virtual and in-person events to allow participants and donors to choose how they want to attend? So again, fast forwarding, and COVID is a thing of the past. Are you going to include both components? So who wants to field that one for Miss Brenda?
I'll give you my quick input on that. I think, were we able to do in-person run, let's say, I would definitely still add the virtual. Why not? It doesn't cost anything practically. It will only add. It's only additive as far as I'm concerned.
Can I add one more thing to that? Okay. That is, once the COVID is thing of the past, I think even if we're safer, the repercussions of the worry that has been caused throughout this time is going to ripple for some people longer than others. And so as we're looking at it, in my sense is that giving people the opportunity to do in-person or virtual for longer than probably what we're expecting will probably be more beneficial than not, to be able to accommodate all those different people, to have them still be involved and feel comfortable.
Very good. Thanks for that, Laurie. Tess, glad to have you here, has posed a question. We had our socially distanced bike-a-thon this past fall and included a virtual option. We didn't have anyone take part virtually yet. It's easy enough to do. So, and Tess, I can ask you to unmute yourself and maybe just expand a bit on this. You had a socially distanced bike-a-thon and you included the option for people to join virtually. Can I ask you to share what that virtual opt-in looked like, Tess?
Sure. Yes, thank you. So I work for the YMCA. We had our annual bike-a-thon. It was scheduled for last March, the week after we all closed down for COVID. So we decided that we needed to at least hold it for those teams that still were interested and still raised money for us. And so we held that this past fall. But we did hear from some people that they were unable to attend or they just weren't comfortable with it in our building as we were open. So we offered the virtual option, and that gave everyone an opportunity. We gave them a week to log a certain number of miles that anyone in our bike-a-thon that day would have logged in person. And we heard back that it was a great idea, but we just didn't have anyone participate. I think probably because it was between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was a Saturday. It was hard. But it is something that we're looking to do again this year and just offer that virtual option for anyone that wants to stay home.
So I guess, Tess, the question would be, are you considering changing how you're offering the virtual option?
For this year, I don't think so. We felt that so I guess a couple of different options were, one, we would have it run live as we were doing it in person so that they could join that day. But we also wanted the virtual option of, if they couldn't join that day, they still had the whole week to do the miles and log and, raise funds.
That's pretty fun. I don't know. I don't want to jump in on the panelists. A reflection that I have to maybe potentially bring in a totally different crowd would be an idea of maybe paying a virtual registration not to have to ride for those of us that maybe aren't into that, or to maybe say for every $50 I give, the rider has to ride a little less. Maybe have a different slant on it. Is just a reflection that I had. I don't know if that's too far outside of the box, but anybody else have reflections on that one?
I have something. Is it good? Okay. Just to add, can you hear me? Sorry.
We hear you. You're good.
We hear you.
Something's weird with my computer. So we have, like Chris has done too, we went through run sign up for our virtual, well, we had a regular run and we had to change it to fully virtual. This year in July, we're going to go virtual and not, but run sign up has such conveniences like that for virtual people to get set up. I don't know what they have for the bike, like a bike-a-thon kind of thing, but it's really similar to the concept, that you can see what other people are doing as well. So I don't know if that would be even something, if there's a system out there that would accommodate what you're looking to do, and maybe Run Sign Up does, because they're expanding with some of the stuff, so it might not be just runs. I'm not sure. So I definitely recommend looking at that. And also from my experience over the past year and so far this year, with the virtual component for all of the people that we've worked with and our audiences, being very helpful, like specific about how to do it, because people get nervous about that change, and not to have people feel like they, just to make them very, very comfortable and make it as easy as possible every step of the way, so that it's really like something they're looking forward to, and it's not a burden in any way. And also, if it's a competitive factor, like I like that in-person people watching it if they want to do it on that day, and then not, if they want to do it a different time, that works too. But having it be all for one cause, and also for how to, like some people like to see how people did. I don't know if there's a competition factor or not, but that might be something too to consider. So that's all I've got to add there.
Oh no, and that's fantastic. And listen, I love all of these questions that we have coming in. I recognize that it's 1 o'clock. So I just want to share with the members who are on right now and have to pop off that we're very grateful that you joined us today, provided we can stay on for another 10 minutes. And I'm going to look at you, Jen, Chris, Jodi, and Laurie for head nods. We do have a couple other questions. And this one is specifically for you, Jodi. We have someone who's curious about the production of your event. They've struggled with creating content that's worth watching. And then they're also very interested in learning about how to send their gift bags to participants. I heard a couple of you say that driving them wasn't working. And this is Stephanie. So Jodi, if you want to take Stephanie's inquiry on both the production of your videos and having valuable content, and then lessons learned about delivery of bags.
Okay, so because our event has been around for a while and it's already set up as, hey, it's a 30-minute cooking competition, we already had that to begin with. We only have our CEO speak for 5 minutes at the beginning. That's it. It flips to our MC, and that's what runs it. So we get a lot of we get our donors who are interested and our board members, but we get a lot of foodies from the local area because it's all food-based is what it comes down to. So I'm not sure what you mean about the production piece of it. I guess I'm a little confused about that piece.
That's okay. And we can invite Stephanie to unmute and maybe ask or share a couple more details as to what she's looking
That'd be
for.
helpful.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? This is Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yep.
First of all, I just want to say that I must be like really missing events, because all of these events you guys are talking about sound so amazing and I want to go to them all. But I also, and I was hearing that this was something that you were already doing and you were creating content. So maybe the question's more for others that have flipped to virtual, because for those of us that were not actually creating something worth watching to begin with, and we had to take something that was such an in-person and such a personal event and then create something, like basically become TV producers, which we are not. That was a big struggle for us, figuring out how much talking to do, how much of the why, and what to put out there, whether or not to spend a lot of time on auctions, all of that kind of stuff was really tricky. And I know every event is different, but I feel like that was, I guess what I'm kind of getting at is like, how much money should we think about spending on production? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do. So my first question is, do you rely on events for your organization?
So we have 2 main events and they both make $100,000. So it is significant. Yes.
They net?
They
100,000? They net 100,000. Okay.
Yep.
So, you know, my first thing is, can you get the 100,000 somewhere else without putting in the time of doing the event, quite frankly?
And the answer is yes.
Yeah, you know, so it's because it would save you a ton of time instead of trying to create something that's brand new, because that is the hardest part. So we were fortunate. I don't think we would have done our event if it was a regular gala where all we had was music come in and stuff. Probably wouldn't have done it. We have something that is unique to us, is unique to the area, and people liked it. And so it was, yeah, I can watch it on TV because I can watch the TV show Chopped, and I want to see the local chefs and the local judges. And we started this year, we made sure we brought in, sometimes the chefs are well known, sometimes they're not. So it's why we started to pull in the country club chefs in order to pull in a whole other set of donors. And the judges, we went right to the CEO of Ledestri Food and Drink this year and pulled her in as well, and pulled in a TV personality, so people would be a little bit more interested. This coming year for 2021, we've got the CEO of Zweigel's coming in to be a judge for us. And, you know, so we're trying to pull in different people as well, but we truly already had the content to work with.
Yeah.
Is the bigger piece. And probably honestly, if we were going to do something that was just, hey, people are going to talk at you, we're going to tell stories, probably last year we would have canceled it and revamped it for this year and spent the year thinking about what to do.
Mm-hmm. That makes
And I don't know
sense.
if there's a moment, if I could chime in for a second. One of the things that we learned this year was I was fortunate enough to be connected with someone who does virtual events now as a living. And typically this person does it for corporate, like for big retreats where people are, and tries to get people motivated and out of their seats and a little less like businessy. I was connected with him, and I'm going to utilize his services for our Zoom fundraising event as a way to create something that's a little bit outside of our norm, a little bit more interactive and fun. So he's going to be helping throughout with some of those production and content type things, because this is what he does all the time. And I'm really still learning a lot of this virtual stuff. So for example, instead of just having X number of items in a mobile bidding platform, he is helping me come up with a game around that, where we take, say, 10 of our faculty members, and they are challenged to be an auctioneer for a certain item, and they have 30 seconds to pitch that item. And then the audience votes on who was the best auctioneer. So it's taking what we normally did, but making it something where it's fun and people can interact. So it's like, again, granted, it's not the same, but the content of an auction item is always there. So how do we make it more fun for people to get involved? And then really quickly, I think you had mentioned about the VIP delivering. I will say it was a hassle last year. I think it was a hassle because we had 2 weeks to figure it out. I think now going into it, we've got plenty of time. I have a committee. We also all know where to wear masks now, so the same fear isn't there. You know, last year it was like drop at the doorstep and run as fast as you could because we weren't wearing masks yet or anything. So I think now things are a little bit different in that we've got lots of time to plan, assemble boxes. We don't necessarily have to deliver them the day of, and we can, you know, casually ring a doorbell and hand it with a mask on and not have that. So I think we probably will still hand deliver just to make it personal and for our committee members to say thank you in person to the people that we don't normally see anymore, because for us, our parents aren't allowed into our school, so we don't see them. So for us to have that is reason enough to continue the home delivery.
I'm just curious, how many did you do, or how many do you expect to do this year? How many did you actually deliver?
Last year we delivered about 50. We're hoping for about 60 to 70 this year.
Nice. That's great. We thought about that and we just couldn't deal. So we gave up for our event last year. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, we personally delivered more than 100 and it was insane. And the larger organizations locally, people picked up. And so we will shift, except for our VIPs, we're the highest sponsorships. We will have them pick up over a 2-day period this year.
Do you think that's better than mailing?
Than what? Mailing? We just won't mail because we give wine. We give wine, we do a homemade dessert from one of our chefs.
Got it.
So we just wouldn't be able to mail it.
Yep. Okay, cool. Thank you guys very much. That's awesome.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm actually going to share a couple comments too. Brenda said that the team at Hospice found talents they didn't even know they had, between videotaping, live Facebook feeds, and that they had a lot of fun doing it. We've got lots of thanks. Phyllis had said that she found that her virtual event, that she loses people's interest if someone was only talking for more than a minute, like the idea of a talking head without some other element added. I know that everyone has to hop off, and I know that we've gone over time, and I do want to be respectful, but I also know this was such a valuable and important topic. For all of us, I want to thank all of our panelists and everyone for tuning in. Again, save the date for the third Thursday of every month at noon. We will be coming together as fundraisers, talking about all of the fun and challenging opportunities we have for ourselves ahead. So with that said, Ashley, do you want to say any words before we officially close?
I just want to throw out a big thank you to everyone who was here participating. Even bigger thank you to all of our panelists. One thing I am continually astounded by is just the love and support from fellow fundraisers and how we are all in each other's corner and we're all so willing to share ideas. And I think that is fantastic. So guys, from the very bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise. We really appreciate it. And again, just one more shout out. If anyone's is not an AFP member, would like to become a member, please feel free to reach out to myself or Christine. Check out our website. We're here as a resource and we'd love to chat with you more.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your afternoons.
Bye, friends.
Thanks, guys.